guys, and welcome to Odds on Premier League, Matchday 16, the last one before the World Cup. Hello, Tom Rennie. Excited?
Last one before the World Cup. Can you believe it? I'm excited about the Premier League being back.
Not the World Cup? Not England?
Yeah, if England make the semi-final, I'll be excited. But until then,
well, let's focus in the Premier League because we have an exciting weekend. So remember to comment the video with us. Thanks everyone, by the way, who are already commenting this live video. And don't forget, guys, press the like, support us, and subscribe to our channel if you like us. And now let's go on with the show. We had Carabao Cup in England this midweek, no Premier League, so let's go with the games we have on Saturday, starting with Man City, Brentford. What a game we saw against Fulham. Man City winning as always, or as almost always, but suffering against Leicester, against Fulham. But they are grabbing the points. I guess it should be more comfortable against Brentford. We know that away they are playing badly and they are not getting the results. So I guess we should expect a more comfortable Man City in this game.
Yeah, I think the odds quite rightly reflect just how much Man City are favourites in this game. Around 26 this morning for Brentford. That may well drift out as we get towards the weekend. City evens to win it. Seems about right. If City are going to be worth any money to you this weekend, you have to look at some doubles, some trebles, and Asian handicaps. So there's a few things I might suggest. But it's worth saying that City have not been playing amazingly well. They weren't great in the victory against Fulham. They weren't great in the victory against Leicester. Against Brighton, they huffed and puffed at times before winning that game. And the rate of Erling Haaland goals has slowed up as well, which it was always going to following that phenomenal start. But it's a near fully fit Manchester City. Only Cancelo and Kyle Walker will be missing against the Brentford team, who have got 3 wins all season, none away from home, 4 draws and 3 defeats on their travels this campaign. There's only one result here. So what should you go for? Well, Brentford have been walloped. Well, I think that's not far off, to be honest with you. I try not to say exact scores, but walloped when they went to Aston Villa, conceded a couple of goals against Nottingham Forest, conceded a couple of goals in a few games away from home this season. So I'd say Brentford conceded at least 2 in this game. Here's your Asian handicap game for the week. I'd be looking at Man City. To be safe, I'd go with minus 2.5. To be confident, I'd say minus 3.5. I think City win this 4, maybe 5, maybe even 6-0. I don't see a Brentford goal. I see a City hammering. And as ever, when there's a City hammering these days, just have a look around for the Erling Haaland hat-trick odds, usually around 10-1, which is insane. But City win 4-0 or more, Haaland hat-trick.
And as we all know, of course, Haaland is not going to the World Cup, so he is going to be eager to play and score some goals before this break. Let's try to find better odds in the next one. Bournemouth, Everton. This is a good one to avoid relegation because Everton, they are still in the fight and they are in a very bad run of fixtures, only 2 points away from relegation. Also thrashed in midweek in the Carabao, lost to Leicester. This one is interesting, Tom, and especially also because Bournemouth games lately are also being very entertaining.
Yeah, it's worth saying on Bournemouth that Gary O'Neill came in and did a good job, but the reason these guys are caretaker managers, temporary managers, is that it's supposed to be temporary. It's supposed to be a few weeks before you work out what your direction is. And they decided, well, we'll just wait. We'll just wait till the World Cup, which may not be the worst thing ever because you've got so many games, over half a season after the World Cup. So it might end up being quite a wise thing that they've done. But at this moment in time, I have my doubts about that. Recent performances, really poor. Recent results, even worse. Exciting games, as you say, they're scoring goals, but conceding so many as well. 32 conceded in the Premier League this season. That is a record in the division, overtaking Nottingham Forest and Leicester City in recent times. As for Everton, their games continue to be a dirge. So this might be nice for Everton fans, actually seeing an entertaining game for a change, because even they will not fail to score against Bournemouth. I think that despite Everton's recent poor form of 1 victory in their last 5, despite that lack of goals, only scored in one of the last 4 games. That was a 3-0 victory they had against Crystal Palace. I do think they're a stronger team than Bournemouth. I do think their defensive acumen is going to come to the fore. I don't think Bournemouth will break Everton down. I'd take Everton to win here. Certainly go look for double chance, but I'd say Everton to win at around 2.5 is quite nice. And I would say Everton win in a quite low-scoring game. I don't think the free-scoring Bournemouth matches of recent times continues. Connor Cody, James Tarkowski, the other defensive-minded players at Everton keep Bournemouth out. Bournemouth win. Everton win without conceding. Bournemouth don't score, and I go low scoring. Go under 1.5 here.
So you expect, of course, a completely different game from the one we saw on Tuesday. These teams played together in the Carabao Cup. Bournemouth 4, Everton 1.
And look at how many changes. I think there's maybe about collectively 16 changes in that game. I don't take anything from the Carabao Cup. I don't think we take anything. I don't think we learn anything. I hope you enjoyed watching it, but nothing to learn, I don't think.
Actually, I was going to ask you if we have to take in consideration these midweek games for our bets on the weekend.
Everybody is delighted who got knocked out. Everyone who got knocked out, even though it's a bit annoying on the night, everyone's quite happy to get knocked out. With this particular season, the fixture congestion, nobody wanted to... Even the championship teams. I watched West Ham Blackburn. Blackburn, who won on penalties, made 11 changes. They didn't want to go through. Nobody wanted to go through. So we learned nothing, I don't think.
Well, both teams to score. Abedi is telling us, and we have to say sorry to Liverpool fans because they actually won in penalties in the Carabao Cup against Derby County. Liverpool, they beat Spurs. It wasn't a great game again, and they are not playing great. They had Real Madrid in the draw in the Champions League. It looks like a long time ago, but was only on Monday when we learned this, and perhaps we see a change in Southampton without Hasenhüttl. He got fired.
Yeah, but he got fired, and I think that was... The only surprise about Ralph Hasenhüttl getting fired was that it happened last week. Like, it does sort of feel like a few teams were just getting to the World Cup. They'll be at 14 games played, 15 games played for some. It's still so early. It's so early in the season. Like, we're past the bit where the table doesn't matter. The table now does matter. But there are so many games to go. And I don't think anyone should be panicking as yet. But you've got this really lovely... might not be the right word, but really interesting 7-week break now where some teams are going to lose a lot of players. Other teams aren't going to lose that many. You've already mentioned Erling Haaland. And so I thought he would get on to the World Cup, play out this game, and then he would leave. And that might well be true of one or two other bosses too. Brendan Rodgers, David Moyes could well be in that list. So that was the surprise about Southampton. Beyond that, they've looked a bit personalityless. They've looked like a team in need of a change of direction for a long time. The old manager couldn't provide it, and the caretaker manager this weekend is not going to provide it. The story here is Liverpool and whether they can end this weird run of games with a victory. And I tell you what, normally doing these betting predictions, there's a few things you can count on. Erling Haaland scores, City win, Almiron scores at the minute, Harry Kane to score for Tottenham, West Ham to have 10 corners, these sorts of things. It used to be Liverpool win. It used to be Liverpool win in a relatively low-scoring game and Mo Salah scores. Now, I have no confidence in almost anything that Liverpool are doing. The injury list remains reasonably long. Naby Keita, Artur Melo, James Milner might be out for this game. Joel Matip missing. So it's always 6 to 8 injuries for Liverpool. Their form has been erratic. Their performances have been erratic. They were terrible in their last game at Anfield when they lost against Leeds. They were awful against Forest when they lost at the City ground too. The good news is they are probably playing the best possible opponent they could have before the World Cup. I think Mo Salah is going to come to the fore in this game as he did at Tottenham last weekend. Liverpool are going to win this. No way Southampton score. They've only scored 12 goals all season. They don't score at Anfield. Liverpool win without conceding. Salah on the score sheet. Would I go Asian handicap? Maybe. I'd maybe look at minus 2.5. I'd maybe look at 2.5, but I don't know. The only thing I feel confident of is Salah scores and Liverpool win. They don't concede.
Liverpool to win both halves. Abed is telling us Salah to score as well. Well, now the standings matter and Southampton, they are in the bottom 3. They will go to the championship. And also Nottingham Forest, next game, Nottingham Forest Crystal Palace, but they are alive. They drew the last game against Brentford. They are only 3 points away from Bournemouth. So if they beat Crystal Palace, they can be, if not out of the relegation, very close from it. And Palace, the last game was a victory. I guess it hurt against West Ham. They are in good form. 3 victories in the last 4, ejected from the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I mean, on Forest, 2 wins this season, both at home against West Ham and Liverpool by a goal to nil. One in midweek in the Carabao Cup for what that's worth against Tottenham. Not a great deal. Though Jesse Lingard scored, so that might well give him a bit of a boost in his Forest career, which has failed to this point. They have got a bit of a settled team now, Forest. You kind of know what the benchmarks of their team are going to be. Cook and McKenna at centre-half, Yates in midfield with Freuler. The front 3 changes a fair amount. Henderson in goal. You kind of know what the spine of the team is now, which Steve Cooper had to work out. And I think you see that in recent results. 2 losses in 5, but 2 draws and a win is not too bad. 10 points from 14. It's relegation form, but it certainly turned better than the first 5 to 8 games of this season. Winning at home is going to be vital for them. If they win at home, they don't concede at home. And that's going to be the interesting factor in this game, because Palace did score 2 last week against West Ham, but they were both such gifts from West Ham's poor defending. And the amazing thing is Palace ran that game. They were the better team the entire game, but didn't really create anything. And with Elise and Zaha and Eze, that was quite surprising to me. They had like 60% of the ball, but all their shots were quite poor. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 1 goal winning this game. I wouldn't be surprised to see Palace winning it by a goal to nil. Wilfried Zaha scoring that goal. Again, having a fine season as central striker. He again will be the outstanding player on the field. Double chance here with a draw and Crystal Palace win. Look for Wilfried Zaha to score that goal and look for Palace to have plenty of shots, not many on target. I go above 10 shots for both teams, but all from distance, low scoring.
Well, Idris is telling us over 9.5 corners for this game. Millie, Crystal Palace to win. People like as well, Tom, Crystal Palace to win. If Zaha starts up front, go for Palace. Well, let's go to the next one. Tottenham Leeds. Tottenham, they are in such a bad form lately. 3 defeats in the last 4 defeats already this season, still in Champions League spots. And now playing against Leeds, this is the entertaining Leeds that we are used to. Really funny games against Bournemouth and against Liverpool, the last 2, especially the one against Bournemouth. Can you see danger here for Tottenham? Can Leeds surprise Tottenham?
Yeah, they really can. I'm surprised at these odds, actually. Like, Tottenham are favourites, and they're rightly favourites because of the calibre of some of their players. But the way they've played, there was the discussion we had a few weeks ago. They were going to come unstuck. You felt they were going to come unstuck because they weren't creating great chances. They weren't really getting bodies forward. Antonio Conte's style, is it working at Tottenham in the Premier League in this era? I don't know. One thing I do know is that they'll play for corners. So look at the corner market again, the over 8, the over 10 corners for Tottenham in this game to score from a corner. Harry Kane to score from that corner. Certainly a market I'd always look at Tottenham every single week, the corners market. Look at their last 4 or 5 games. It's 6 to 8 corners plus in every single game. And they've scored a decent amount from them as well. It's scoring and playing cohesive football from open play, which is a significant issue for Spurs. You look at those home results as well. Take out the anomaly of the game against Leicester. They're all relatively low scoring. 2-1 is the most common scoreline in football, and it's happened in 3 of their last 5 home games. The other one was 2-0, so nearly the same. So look at the 2-1 market for Tottenham because it's such a constant scoreline. For Leeds, really interesting with them because I think Jesse Marsch is a guy who, if you buy into him and his enthusiasm, his intensity, his kookiness, really, I think that you can get results for a period of time. I can see Leeds being a team a bit like Southampton used to be under Ralph Hasenhüttl, a run of wins, a run of losses, a run of wins, a run of losses. And right now, things are going well for them. You know, Crescencio Somerville's come from nowhere. Gnonto, the Italian teenagers, really impressed when he's come off the bench. Brendan Aronson's been terrific, just been named in the US men's national team squad, as has Tyler Adams, who's been great. So a lot of positives right now about Leeds going forward, but there's no way they don't concede. Like, even to Tottenham, who don't get forward, there's no way they don't concede. So looking at the recent run, I'd say both teams will score in this game. I'd say Tottenham have 10 corners. I think it will finish 2-1 either way. The same scoreline that Leeds won at Anfield. The same scoreline that Tottenham have lost their last home games to. I just feel like it's going to finish 2-1 either way. Don't ask me to pick. I'd probably go for Tottenham because that's the way you look. But both teams score. Pick a winner from that point.
Kane to score, Abedi is telling us, for instance. Kane getting ready, of course, for the World Cup. Tico, Tottenham to win, more goals in the second half. We've seen this with Leeds games. Can be as well another option. Next game, Tom, West Ham. Leicester, you mentioned before, David Moyes, Brendan Rodgers, such a good run now for Brendan Rodgers. Leicester City finally out of the relegation zone, 2 points above the bottom three. They are coming from a great victory in Goodison Park, 2-0. Also, they put a fight against Man City, so they are competitive and they are the underdog, really the underdog against West Ham. Kind of surprising us, no? I guess they should be balanced.
Well, firstly, I'd say at 3.8, I would snatch your hand off for 3.8 for Leicester to win this game. This surely will come in by the time we get to the weekend. So lump on it right now is my advice. If you're watching this video right now and not betting on Leicester, you may well be giving money away. Because, I mean, briefly on West Ham, I've been to a few games recently, and they just look like a team. You know when a team doesn't really know what they're doing, and so it looks like no one's sprinting? They look like they're not putting the effort in, which I don't believe. I don't believe players don't put the effort in. I think they don't believe in what they're being told to do. And they look like a team that are just ambling around the field. Offensively, very weak. Have been weak all season. David Moyes has no idea how to use Gianluca Scamacca. Every time he has a player that looks like they're effective on the field, Pablo Fornals or Benrahma in the last couple of games, he's taken them off. When Benrahma got taken off against Palace, he got roundly booed by large swathes of the home crowd. And he's just making a lot of mistakes right now, David Moyes. He desperately needs this World Cup break. And frankly, the way West Ham have played this season, he'd be very lucky to still be West Ham manager by the time we return on Boxing Day. 4 wins all season, 3 wins at home, 8 defeats already. It's really poor. It's really, really poor at West Ham right now. And they're conceding terrible goals and not scoring the goals that they should. I will note that before Palace, they'd won their home games before that against Fulham, against Wolves, and against Bournemouth, though all the performances were terrible, and they were lucky to win all those games. And then we come to Leicester, who have won their last 2 games, right, away from home. One at Everton, one against Wolves, big victory there, getting up the table. 3 wins in their last 4, home and away. Jamie Vardy started scoring again. Harvey Barnes is fit. The manager, Brendan Rodgers, has got a way of playing Wout-Face and Chalio Arceonchu at centre-half, which has salved the loss of Fofana and the continued injury issues of Johnny Evans. Leicester are going to win this game. I mean, they are just going to win this game. I think that West Ham have been so poor, and the confidence of the 2 losses in the week, Blackburn in midweek and then Palace last weekend, is going to drain it from everyone. West Ham shouldn't be as bad as this. I think the pressure on David Moyes might be too much come this game. I wonder if he's actually going to change the way West Ham play. He keeps going more and more defensive and getting worse and worse results. He's got no idea how to play Lucas Paqueta as well. I mean, there's so much wrong with West Ham now. I think Leicester win. I would say the game will be level at half-time. Leicester win by full-time, and look out for late goals as well. West Ham conceding late goals at this moment in time against Blackburn in midweek in the Cup, against Palace last week in the league. They're making the wrong decisions. Leicester win, goes late in the game.
We are seeing the trend for the odds in this game, and Leicester to win, or double chance for Leicester, is going down and down. So as Tom is saying, if you fancy Leicester, go now and bet, because the odds are going down and down, as we can see right now. Would you sack David Moyes then, Tom?
It's tough because I think that David Moyes in charge, West Ham will still stay in the league. Like, I don't think they'll get relegated. It's a bad season and they're playing badly. And I also don't know who's out there. Like, Southampton are hiring Nathan Jones. I wouldn't take Nathan Jones over David Moyes. Can they attract a Pochettino Tuchel type? I don't think so. So then you look at the next level of managers, and who is there? It's not a strong field. You've got a real nice window now where I think you can take 2 weeks to think about it. You've got 2 weeks to mull it over. At the moment, I would say no, but I'm 52-48 in favour of Moyes at this moment in time.
Next game, a good one, Newcastle-Chelsea. What a 2022 for Newcastle. I think this time last year they were in relegation spots, and then they say that money doesn't bring happiness. Tell Newcastle they are brilliant. They are third in the standings, 4-1 against Southampton, 4 consecutive victories, and they can put Chelsea 9 points away. Chelsea that it looks like they are going backwards since Potter arrived in charge.
Yeah, I mean, on Newcastle, the money thing is interesting because they've actually not really spent it yet. You know, Sven Botman and Bruno Guimaraes and Nick Pope, solid signings, good signings. Bruno's been outstanding, but in general, he's still doing it with the majority of the team that was there when he arrived. Miguel Almiron, Callum Wilson, Alan Maximan, Joe Willock, Jacob Murphy. You know, a huge amount of this lot were playing when Steve Bruce was there. So it goes to show you what a change of manager can do, what a change of mood can do, and the confidence of being at Newcastle right now because of the optimism for the future is firing a lot of what's happening right now at Newcastle United. Individual players have been outstanding. Miguel Almiron's having a great season, having offered almost nothing since coming to England previously. Callum Wilson right up with their best strikers in the country. Bruno, I've mentioned already. Lot to like about Newcastle right now and the way they play. At home this season, 4 wins and 3 draws, no defeats, only 1 defeat across the entire campaign. And it's 4 straight victories. I mean, it's terrific form. Everything's going so well. And for Chelsea, as you say, it's the exact opposite. You know, with Chelsea, Todd Boehly bought players that I think he thought the manager Thomas Tuchel would like. He then sacked Thomas Tuchel a few days after the transfer window and brought in Graham Potter for big money with a bunch of players that aren't Graham Potter players. So I'm not sure what they were expecting. You know, if you are coming from a place of chaos, you need someone who's going to come in and kind of lead you out of that. And Graham Potter can't do that because he came in at a point where there wasn't much he could do. Would he have signed Raheem Sterling? Would he have signed Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang? I don't think so. And you add that to the fact as well that Brighton's success when Potter was there was based on defence. And I don't think there's anyone in the Chelsea defence who's better than what Brighton had. You know, Thiago Silva's a great player, but he's nowhere near the player he once was. Trevor Chalobah, give me a break. And it's just not Cucurella at centre-half. Potter played him on the wing, but now he's playing him at centre-half. It's mad. So there's issues there. The keepers have been good and bad as well. So all sorts of problems for Chelsea. No real understandable pattern of play or style of play. And I think the confidence is massively drained currently. I think that they're desperate for this World Cup break. To this game, Newcastle at 2.43 here, 2.5. Well worth your time. 2.5 is lovely for Newcastle to win. Newcastle, I think, are going to win this game. I would suggest here that it's going to be quite tight. I think it's going to be quite nervy for Newcastle, who go into this game as favourites, unexpectedly so, against Chelsea. But I think as the game wears on, the first goal wins it. The first goal goes for Newcastle. Look high on the corner count here for both teams. I'd say above 15 corners in the game. That's 7 to 8 per team. Newcastle win it with second half goals. And I wouldn't fancy Chelsea to score either. So Newcastle win without conceding.
Abedi is going for Newcastle Asian Handicap 0. Actually, it's not bad. If they draw, you get your money back. And we have Tico, who is a Chelsea supporter, still trusting his team. Tell us, Harry, we have a Chelsea supporter as Harry, always commenting our videos. If you still support your team or you are not believing anymore in Potter's tactics, and in this game against Newcastle. Next game and last one on Saturday, Wolves, Arsenal. Finally, Wolves found a manager, is Lopetegui. So I guess if Wolverhampton was not really entertaining to watch, Tom, skip this. Skip this. Lopetegui is not a funny man. Is dull, is boring. And but perhaps he can bring some results to Wolves because they are in a really bad position, only 10 points, and facing the best team in the league, Arsenal. Yeah. So we should go Arsenal all the way here.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, I think that I was really interested to read Lopetegui's first interview after being announced as Wolves manager. I don't think he's in charge for this. I think he'll actually take over properly for Boxing Day, so 26th of December. So this may well be the last game in charge for Steve Davis. Whether Lopetegui's there or not, I don't know. But I don't think he'll be in active charge. But anyway, I thought it was really interesting in his interview that he was like, what I'm going to focus on now is the defence. And I'm thinking, you've scored 8 goals all season. That's the exact opposite of your problems. I know they've conceded 22, but that's maybe just above average for the league at this point. 8 goals scored is the worst in the league, and they just don't ever look like scoring in games. I mean, even when they did score a couple of goals last week against Brighton, they still conceded 3. Sure, you could say there's an argument for improving the defence there, but it's the offence that's the problem. And I'm not sure Lopetegui is the right manager to solve that problem. I don't get a great deal of enthusiasm for the appointment of Julen Lopetegui from Wolves fans or from neutrals like us as well. So it's an interesting one. And we'll see how it works out. But in this particular game, not a chance for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Even at 6-1, I wouldn't even consider a penny of my money on that. For Arsenal, 1 draw, 1 loss all season long. The loss against Southampton may be the outlier in all those results, but rested a bunch of players in that Carabao Cup game, which they don't care about at all in midweek. Expect the first team to return. Expect a similar resilient performance to the one they had against Chelsea. Arsenal win. Arsenal have over 60% of the ball. Arsenal have 20-plus shots. Arsenal score at least 2. Do you know what? I'm convincing myself while talking here. Look at your Asian handicap as well. I would say at least 2-0. If you feel brave here, because 1.6 ain't great, I might look at Arsenal at a -2 handicap to win this game. I think they'll win massively in this match, to be honest.
Well, Lopetegui left a club in relegation in Spain, Sevilla, and he's taking charge another one in relegation like Wolverhampton. Good luck, because he's going to need it for sure.
Yeah.
On Sunday, we have Brighton, Aston Villa, 2 teams with new managers as well and doing great, especially Brighton. We've seen more about the Serbi. They are also in great form lately and very close to the European spots. And Aston Villa with Emery. I'm sure Villa supporters are thrilled with Emery now on the bench, beating Man United at home. And now it's time also to show some power when they are traveling, because this season they've been awful on the road.
Yeah, I mean, look, Brighton under Roberto De Zerbi have finally started playing well. I think they were great in the victory against Chelsea. I think there was a bit of fortune in the victory over Wolverhampton Wanderers last week. I think the form of Adam Lallana the last couple of games has been really, really impressive. We know he's a classy player, but can't quite get through 90 minutes, play week in, week out. But when you get a vintage performance by Lallana like we got last week, he can still make a massive difference in the Premier League. And the home form as well for Brighton across the campaign has been pretty decent. Just 1 defeat in the season. That was the scrambler against Tottenham, which I think was De Zerbi's first game in charge. So things are turning. Things are starting to look a little bit more like what we thought we'd get from Roberto De Zerbi, which is Potter, but with a more offensive zeal. And I think you build on Potter's solidity and possession-based play, add some cut and thrust to that, and you've got a really good team, as we have here with Brighton, who I think will end this run of the season in the top 6. For Aston Villa, it's tough, isn't it, to work out exactly what they are with 3 different managers in their last 5 games. I think the win over Man United was very impressive. I think it was almost the embodiment of what we call new manager bounce. They've had new manager bounce in their last couple of home victories against Brentford and Manchester United. But I think the old issues still remain. I think Tyrone Mings not quite good enough. The entire defence not quite up to snuff. I think Douglas Luiz still wants to leave. Still don't quite know what the forward lineup is. And we're still waiting to find out how Unai Emery wants to play, who he likes and who he doesn't. So I think quite rightly the odds favour Brighton. I think that Aston Villa are going to be a work in progress for a while. I don't think now they've beaten Man United, they are a Premier League force. So I'd be looking here for Brighton to win. Not great odds, so I'd be looking at a low-scoring game. I don't see this being a thriller. I'd be looking at the under 2.5 market across the game. I think Brighton will win without conceding in this match, and look for goals maybe coming in the first half of this game as Brighton come out of the traps under De Zerbi, score a goal, hold on for that victory after that.
Well, Tom, and the last one is Fulham Man United. Interesting one, because Man United, they are out of the top 4 because they have problems when they are traveling. Only 1 victory in the last 4 games away. The last one was a defeat against Aston Villa. And because we know that Fulham, they are very hard to beat, even for Man City, and especially when they are playing in Craven Cottage. Can Fulham disappoint Man United? We have odds 4.1 Fulham to win.
You know what's interesting about that is that Alexander Mitrovic is a doubt with this ongoing injury he's been carrying for weeks. Harrison Reed suspended. I don't think there's a great deal of replacement on the bench for either of those two players. Reed's been so important for everything they've done in midfield this season alongside Polina and Pereira. So if Mitrovic was there, I would really fancy these odds because of what Fulham have done at home this year against big teams, against everybody, really. They've been so impressive. Without Mitrovic, they bring in Carlos Vinicius comes in up front, and it's not great, is he? The replacement they've got to bring in. It's a massive drop-off from the former Tottenham man, should they make that change. For Man United, I think it's quite evident at the moment, actually, that I think Erik ten Hag had found his team. I think his team very much revolved around Antony on the right-hand side. And ever since the helicopter move, we haven't seen Antony since. Injured, they say. But without him, they've lost their balance now. You know, Jadon Sancho wasn't playing amazingly well, and he may well be ill for this game. But with Sancho one side, Antony the other, Rashford through the middle, it kind of made sense in the way they played. The counter-attack was on, and against Fulham, they could have absorbed and hit him on the counter. Without those players, if Ronaldo starts, I don't know. I don't know, in truth, about this one. I think if Mitrovic plays, if you see Mitrovic on that lineup, lump on Fulham, especially if they're over 4-1. If you see the name Alexander Mitrovic, go, go, go. If you don't, then I would say low scoring, under 1.5 goals in the game, and double chance it with a Man United win and a draw. The draw at 4-1 is really, really interesting here. But I think without Mitrovic, Fulham do not score, and Man United don't score many either, so I'd go with them essentially to win by 1-0.
Well, Serbia going to the World Cup, if he is doubtful, I guess he will rest at home almost for sure. But check the lineups and decide your bet. Tom, which one is your safe bet for this match day?
There's a few options for safe bet this week, but I'm sticking with Manchester City to win. As ever, the odds are pretty poor. So look at them to win by 2.5 goals, Asian handicap minus 1.5. That'll bring you in at around 1.5. It's not great, but it's a safe bet.
It is a safe bet. This is what safe bets are for. And your ACCA?
I'm getting annoyed about my ACCAs, I'll be honest, Edu, because I keep getting 2 of the 3. 2 of the 3 keep coming in. The third one stops coming in. So it's getting really annoying. So this week, I'm just going with a double, which I really, really like. Newcastle to beat Chelsea makes it interesting. Spice it up with an Arsenal victory away from home. And that brings you in at just under 4-1. For a double, I think that's quite nice.
It is quite nice. Tom, we will see each other for Christmas again because Premier League is back on Boxing Day. But of course, before we have to watch the World Cup. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everyone, for watching us. Enjoy the Premier League and don't forget to press the like and subscribe. See you, Tom. Bye-bye. Like the Pope.